Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Coach Berto. I'm here at MTK, and we're gonna talk about sparring. Sparring is super important for your Muay Thai training. It's like right up there. There's hitting pads, there's running, and then there's sparring. Sparring is gonna help you to get your timing. If you don't, sometimes you're in class and you're constantly hitting pads, you're hitting combos, or even if you're hitting a bag, and then you come into sparring and it's like real life situations. Because you know when people say, hey, yo, pad don't hit back or bag don't hit back, you're gonna realize that sometimes when you're throwing things, you're gonna have to keep your distance. So that's probably like one of the beginning things for beginners when they're doing their sparring is to like have the right amount of distance. Sometimes people, they get super excited and they get super close and they rush. I know me, like I'm a bigger dude, I'm stronger. So I used to have my coaches always tell me like, yo, don't treat this like football. And I'll try to like get too close. So you wanna keep your proper distance. You're hitting your partner at the end of your punches. And as they're moving around, you're constantly adjusting your distance the entire time you're going. And in order to do that, you're gonna have to make sure that you stay calm. That's like one of the first things when you're beginning, like you get that adrenaline dump. You get like, ha, 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 super tense, and then it makes you tired way quicker. So like the first thing is just making sure that you stay nice and relaxed. And you're looking at your partner. You're gonna have a lot of beginners. I'll see certain things while they're sparring. They'll like get notes from their coach, and they'll be in the middle of sparring, and then they'll get a note, and then they'll be like, what? What did you say? It's like, don't do that. That's how you're gonna get hurt. So like get in the habit of listening to your coach while still like looking at your opponent and being engaged. Also little things I remember I had one of my coaches used to hate, if you're sparring and then maybe your shin guard gets unloosed or something, and then you're in the middle of it and then you stop and you try to like fix your stuff. Like get in the habit of, even if your shin guard is coming off, like you are focused on your partner, you know? And like sometimes he would say that's like a mental like fart. You're looking for an escape. You know what I mean? People will use that like a mental tick, like almost an excuse to take a break. You know, so make sure that you're focused and the fight has stopped and you are safe before you're like doing things like fixing your stuff. You'll see a lot of people do that, and usually I know like, okay, they're kind of breaking, you know? So when you come in, that's your first thing. You want to be light and technical. Sometimes, like a lot of people, there's a lot of ego in this sport. So as soon as you come in, people are trying to like knock people's heads off. And then so the first thing I would always say is like in the beginning, you're not even thinking about power. It's all about technique. So you're doing clean technique. You're working on your distancing. You're working on your timing. And you should come in with a game plan. So like every time I come in, it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna spar. It's like, okay, I'm working on hitting every single level. By that, I mean like, I'm gonna throw combinations where I'm hitting the head, hitting the body, and ending with a kick, or starting with a kick, body, head. And I'm practicing those things. And maybe for each sparring partner that I have, I work on something different. Like I'll have like a lot of people who'll be like, oh man, there's no like good people here. And I'm like, it's important to have people that challenge you, but you can also learn from people who are not exactly on your level. So say if I have someone where like, I'm like 230 pounds, so there's like a lot of times I'm sparring people who there's a weight disadvantage. So from there, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be working on my pullback. You know what I mean? So bop, bop, boom, boom, or I'm working on my punches. I'm working on my catches, my defense. So I'm working on catching punches, boom, boom, and I'll just like give myself a slight handicap for like the person that I'm working with. Or maybe like with this person, I'm just working my checks. And that way like you come in and you're working something and you can get better. Because it can be very easy for people to just start like brawling, and then you're not really learning. Because then you start getting into like fight or flight, and then you're not really learning when you're in that state, and you're just like trying to survive. So being in a location or in an environment where you're playful but competitive and technical. I have a lot of homies. I've been to a lot of gyms where it's like, every time you come in, it's straight banging. You're going hard sparring. And I think hard sparring is like very important, especially if you're like leading up to a fight. You want to be able to know how to do these techniques under pressure. But if you're doing hard sparring every single time you come, you're gonna find yourself getting injured more often, and you're gonna be injuring your sparring partners. And then sometimes like you'll have that ego like, oh yeah, I whooped him and I hurt him. You know, some people are like that. I'm not like that, but you know, some people like hurting people. But when you do that, you're hurting yourself, because then like you don't have anyone to practice with. So it's like you gotta take care of your sparring partner and take care of yourself. A way to take care of yourself is like making sure you have like the proper stuff. I know a lot of times like when it talks about like your safety and proper like materials to have while you're sparring, can be like not fun. You know, people are like, man, like what? I just want to, you know, throw and bang. But like it's a part of the longevity of this sport. And sometimes when you're young, you don't really like keep that in mind. We all think we're invincible. But like, I'm like 34 now, so like at this point, I have like a lot of friends who have traumatic brain injury, you know, are having like seizures because of the way they spar. You know, they're always trying to bang, they're not afraid to get hit. But it is important not to always be afraid to get hit. Like you have to know when you're sparring that you're gonna get hit. But the way to like mitigate those type of injuries is just like basic like etiquette. So sometimes when I'm sparring with a partner, if we want to go hard and it's like not even a fight coming up, we'll go hard to the body, go hard to the legs, but then maybe I'm not going as hard to the head. Or I'll like show it to the head with like a high kick, but we'll pull it a little bit. That way we're not getting like unnecessary injuries in sparring, and you're not even like winning a belt. There's so many fighters who end their careers in sparring and it's not even worth it. You know, there's so many stories of like boxers and stuff like that who, you know, get hurt in sparring and, you know, people die. And it's like super real. And then when you're like first starting off, you know, you're young, you're like 18, you're getting better, you know, you don't think about those things. But like when you get older or the more you're in it, or the more you have friends who fight, you'll start seeing people who have brain injuries, even some of the best. And some other safety measures, always wrapping my hands, making sure I'm wrapping my hands, making sure I'm warming up. Always have my mouth guard, so I'm taking care of my teeth. You know, I'm not having like unnecessary, you know, dental bills and stuff like that. Always have a cup. I know there's some dudes who like train without a cup, and they'll be like, no, it's uncomfortable. And I'm like, to me, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I would never spar without a cup. That's a lie. I've sparred plenty of times without a cup, and I've been hit, and it sucks. You know what I mean? So like, take care of your future generations by wearing a cup, you know? Your future family will thank you. And also, some people in Muay Thai, it's like, there's like a huge culture where a lot of people will spar and they don't have headgear, and they'll be like, oh, it messes up my vision, which is real. When you have like, especially if you have the headgear that goes over the bar in your face, it will mess up your vision. And then sometimes like having the big headgear, even if it doesn't have that in the cheek things, like it gives your head like a large, it's like a large target. But I think it's super important to have because it helps you to stop getting as much like cuts. You can still get cut, especially if you're fighting someone who really knows what they're doing. There's like always a level of danger that you're gonna have. But it helps with cuts. You know, you're not gonna get cut. So especially if you start fighting, you know, you don't wanna be doing some hard sparring with some people, get a cut, and then going into a fight, you have like all these like cuts that have already, all these unnecessary injuries that could have been prevented that if you're wearing headgear. And since like me, I do Muay Thai, but I also come from like a boxing background. So like the way I see, I know in Muay Thai, there's plenty of times I've seen like amateurs and pros sparring with no headgear in Muay Thai. But when I'm like in boxing, I don't think I've ever really seen a pro spar without headgear, especially if they're active in their fighting, because of things like cuts and like even breaking your nose. You know, every time I would see like Mayweather spar or Canelo or any of them spar, they would have a headgear, and then I'd be like, I'm not Canelo or Mayweather, so if they need a headgear, then, you know, I should have headgear too. And that's just like how I do it. But, you know, to each their own. There are plenty of people who don't wear headgear, but I like to always wear my headgear. Also with etiquette, usually it's kind of like an unspoken rule, like you go as hard as you're willing to get hit. So like, if you come in and you start throwing on people, like you should be prepared for them to go that hard with you. You know, like I see a lot of people, they'll do certain things like, which is bad etiquette. Like if I'm the bigger fighter, I'll usually let like the lighter fighter like tell me, lead on how hard they want to go, you know? So if I see them going light, you know, I'm gonna go light with them too. I think it's bad etiquette. If someone's going light, you're going light, you're going light, you'll lull in. It's like this unspoken agreement that you're going light, and then all of a sudden, bam, you hit them super hard. It's like almost like, I don't know, it's bad etiquette. It's not cool. Also, certain things that are not cool is you don't have elbows, elbow pads, you don't have knees, and then all of a sudden you're throwing spinning elbows and big knees at your partner. You know, like it's usually like bad etiquette. I've trained at a lot of gyms, and at different gyms they have different rules. Some people like, you know, some gyms like every day I go is hard sparring, but like so usually the gym that you're at, you should know what the rules are. So if you're new, definitely, if you're new to a new gym, like it probably wouldn't be a good idea to come in there and then just start banging super hard, because they're usually, if they're like a fight gym, they're gonna send someone to teach you a lesson. So just out of respect, you should just like get the lay of the land, communication with your training partner, you know, how hard they wanna go, what is okay, what is not okay, just like a quick conversation, because it can be very easy for it to just turn into like a brawl, and then it's like more driven by ego than actually trying to progress and then like learn. Also certain techniques that I'll do when I'm doing knees, like some places they just throw straight up knees. I would always learn, if I'm like training with my sparring partner, is I'll just boom, hit the side of my leg, you know, inner thigh, boom, I'll throw the knee. So it's like, it's showing the knee, they know it's the knee, but it's like, I'm not trying to like break my sparring partner's like ribs and stuff, you know? But that's one way that I was taught by my coach, and I like that. Light, but technical, and competitive. And certain moves, then there's like more specific things, like you'll be at some gyms where they're like, it's kind of disrespectful to just do spinning like back fists. I remember I was at this one gym, this dude was like, yo, that's so disrespectful. So like with certain moves, like spinning back fists or like hitting super hard with like a Superman punch, like you should just be aware and check in and make sure like what the lay of the land is before you go into some place. It could be seen as like extremely disrespectful. Also, sweeps. Sometimes with beginners, I'm always like, be careful with elbows, knees, and then also sweeps. Because there's a lot of times people will do it and then they hurt their sparring partner. I've seen that many times. People sweep them incorrectly, they break their nose. I'm even guilty of it. I swept someone and I didn't do it that hard, but there's so much of a weight difference that like they got a concussion. So it's just when you're doing it, just to be careful. And usually I won't do it to people who are, I would ask people who are brand new to not even like throw things like that. Leave it for more like advanced students who have like a more experience. And then also, if someone's like training for a fight, I'm gonna like I don't wanna do things that is gonna like hurt someone in fight camp. So if I'm sparring with someone and they're getting ready for a fight, like I wanna give them good work. I don't wanna like be easy on them, but I do know that I'm helping them get ready for their fight. So I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt them before their fight. So that's a big thing to know if you're training with a friend. Some other stuff to get like better with your sparring is like cardio is king. You need to be like running. Running is like extremely important. Running, getting those miles in, so then you have like the win for your sparring. And you're keeping your hands up. There'll be a lot of times they'll come in, they're sparring, and then they're just like dropping their hands. You wanna keep your hands up, bringing it back to your face as soon as you're done. And also learning ways to recharge, because you're gonna get tired in a fight. And so there's like these little things that you can do to recharge and get your wind back. And a huge thing that can help with that is like practicing your defense. Like, so say I'll throw a combo, bop, 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 I'll recharge, and if I have good defense, like, you know, catching punches, you know, maybe even like head movement, things like that, I can rely on my defense. I'll let my partner throw their punches, and then I'll, like recharge while I'm working on my defense. And having good defense can help you with that. Sparring is like a conversation. So it's like, I want to make sure I'm throwing something, they're talking, I'm talking back, you know. I don't want it to be like, if I'm like sparring to learn, I don't want it to be like a one-sided conversation where I'm just like, get my ego involved, they'll hit me a little bit, and then I'm just like, bap, 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 don't let them talk, and I'm just like whooping on them. Like, I try to keep it from that, you know. Hard sparring, we save that from when we're about to fight, but in the meantime, it's just like light technical. That's usually when we're like learning the most, and we can experiment. You can try things that you're working in class. Like, you learn this combo and you're like, all right, I'm gonna try to land this, work this move into my sparring session. And like, that's how you actually start to be able to like learn the technique. Because it's like, it's completely different when you are fighting with someone who's like doesn't want to be hit. So there's so many things we could talk on about sparring like all day, but those are a little bit of things that you can work on. Working on your distance, working on your footwork, working on your combos, learning to punch in bunches instead of just like one, you know, jab, cross, hook, kick, cross, shovel hook, low kick, taking your head off center line. Remembering that every time you do something offensive, you have to be ready to do something offensive. Sometimes I'll do something defensive and I won't do anything offensive. But every time I do something offensive, I do something defensive immediately. Because you can guarantee after you punch, your opponent's gonna hit back. So you just gotta be ready. But yeah, thank y'all. If you got some value from that information, let us know in the comments. Drop a little comment. Tell us what you were feeling. Tell us what you were not feeling. You know, tell us what other things I missed. But thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you. This is MTK. I'm Coach Berto.